a lot of times.
So here's my other question.
Okay.
With it too, because I loved that experience. Was a big learning experience for me whenever we worked together.
Yeah.
On that episode. At that point, I was wanting to be just a cinematographer.
Okay.
And so I was obsessed with framing and then pushing what I can do physically with the camera.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we ended up getting quite a few pretty interesting shots, I think.
Yeah.
And but now, because that was a few years ago, it's hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was a little while back, 'cause that was season 2 and one of the earlier episodes.
That's
too.
wild to think about. But just going through and thinking through my journey now that I want to, write, direct, and maybe do some acting for sure.
Yeah.
It was just really interesting to see you work and then work with your actors and then get your blocking and everything like that. So, I mean, did you have goals like for this episode? I'm really wanting to narrow down this, or for this episode, it's all about the story, or like, did you try to vary it up in some ways?
Yeah. So, I like to say that I always try to tackle every project where I do something that I haven't done before, that's new, or that I've never thought I would be able to do. So yeah, every episode I go into, I may have an idea of a particular shot or some way that I want to shoot the story.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. In our season 1, we had this story called Bookworm.
Okay.
And we ended up shooting the whole thing in black and white, but not black and white in camera or editing. We literally made the entire room and all the props and all the costumes black and white and gray.
Okay.
And there's actually a lot of people that have watched it and they think it's a black and white film.
Uh-huh.
So I just had this idea. I was like, I want to shoot something that the world that these people live in is a black and white world. I mean, imagine if Leave It to Beaver.
Sure.
If you, I guess, want to get meta about it or something, like in his world, if everything really is black and white.
It's just the way it is.
It's not like it's color and then it's presented to us in black and white. Everything is just black and white.
Right.
Anyways, that's kind of how I wanted to shoot it, was these characters live in this world that is a black and white world. Now, of course, there's a little bit of pink in their skin from the saturation and stuff. But
sure.
In editing, I don't recall dialing down the saturation. And I think it's just shot it kind of flat and just kind of left it like that,
Wow.
And
that's so interesting, man.
Yeah. So I just always try to do something different like that and try to challenge myself, get an idea of like a different way to shoot something.
Okay. So whenever you think about these, innovative ideas, do they represent themselves thematically in your script, or is it mainly just an aesthetic thing that you try to focus on?
I guess for me, so my dad writes all the horror hotel stories, and he's just got, I guess, a weird twisted mind like that. People always ask him how he comes up with it.
Sure.
And he's like, I don't know, I guess just, he talks about my mom's family is weird, so he gets a lot of ideas from the weird stuff they do or something. You never know.
Sure.
But yeah, he just has this weird mind that works, and he writes a crazy story. And for me, I'm very much a visual guy, and I always try to think of things in a visual way. And a lot of people don't know this, but I actually don't know that much about visual effects. I suck at visual effects.
Is that right? You do everything practically, though.
I do. That's the thing.
That's dope.
Yeah. I do everything practical. So, like, I don't know anything about, like, computer effects. And I do a very little bit of green screen here and there. Sure. But for the most part, I try to do everything practical because that's just the way I understand it. So, a lot of times I will see something or want to shoot something, or I may not even have an idea of a thing I want to do until I see a script.
Sure.
And then I'm like, how would I do that practically? And I try to come up with some way to do a practical version of that.
Sure.
And so for me, I'm a movie watcher. I like watching things.
Same.
So as much as I appreciate good stories and stuff, I try to do a lot of my expression through visual.
Sure.
As much as I can.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, you get that.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. Like, that's one of the problems I have with quite a few things that have come out recently, especially because in the past 6 months, I've been watching a lot of older films.
Okay.
That's one reason I like your series, is because in my mind, it feels like you get a lot of your visual inspiration through, things from mid-90s back.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And there's something weird that a lot of people don't talk about. I'm surprised there's not a lot of op-eds about it, but in watching these older films, like we just watched Tremors.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
Trimmers,
know?
yeah. And they
And-
had a bunch of trimmers after the first one.
We just finished the Western, apparently, that they made.
That's weird.
It's insane.
Yeah, okay.
But mainly the first and a little bit of the second one.
Yeah.
You know, when you watch a film, you can tell if it's not presented, in my mind, as well as it could be.
Yeah.
You can see the budget.
Okay.
Like for me, it's a miracle for some of these films to be as low budget as they are and you not be able to tell.
Right.
Like, oh, they held on this shot because they didn't afford the effects.
Right.
Or,
I got you.
you know, the cutting, they
Yeah.
reversed this shot to kind of make it seem like it's more exciting than it really was.
Right, right.
But, I mean, a lot of films now, it's almost formulaic.
Yeah.
You know, they'll have the two shot where me and you are talking and they'll cut to me, they'll cut to you, and then they'll make it so it's an L cut where you hear me but see you.
Exactly.
And then they
yeah. L cuts, J cuts to kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of that's just editing magic too, you know.
Sure.
Try to bring it in.
Which isn't bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's a style.
Yeah.
It's a style. I'm trying to change the way I think about it, where it's like, oh, that's cheap, instead of that, where it's like, it's just a style. We're all trying to make stuff.
Yeah.
you
Yeah, and they
know?
do a lot for like pacing, you know. And if a conversation between two people is a little too boring, they do a lot of those L and J cuts and quick cuts back and forth and stuff.
Absolutely.
You know?
Which I understand,
Yeah.
but in my mind, I'm like, just write it better, dude. Just write
Yeah.
it better. Yeah. It's tough though.